There is something so insidious happening right now to the Black community, and most white people literally have no idea it's even happening. The Black community is under attack right now at a level we haven't seen probably since the Civil Rights era. You know, with the Supreme Court gutting the Voting Rights Act earlier today, you've got the purge of Black federal workers, attacks on nonprofit funding with the whole DEI boogeyman. You've got attacks on the social safety net. Overt racism is on the rise across the board. And they're tired, y'all. They are exhausted by this onslaught. And it's self-proclaimed white Christians leading the charge against them on all of these fronts. So if you are a white Christian and you are not deceived by Trump, we need to rally together around our Black brothers and sisters right now. We need to form a wall around them, and we need to say no more. No more, because this isn't right, and we cannot stand by and do nothing as they are getting absolutely pummeled like Reconstruction just ended or something.
So, hello folks, hope you're doing great. Welcome to this episode as I bring you one of the incidents happening on our brothers and sisters, which is not right at all. Black American is under attack right now as we are talking. There's a Black American woman who claims physical assault by ICE agents in Brooklyn store.
Like, I'm fucking shaking right now, bro. They don't even care. They're not even asking if you're a citizen. They're not asking if you had document. I'm in the African store. They broke in the people African store. They broke from the back door. I'm shopping and they just snuck behind me and they grabbed my shirt from the back, bro. They don't even care if you have documents. They're not even asking you if you're okay.
A Black American woman reported an encounter with ICE agents during which she claimed they physically assaulted her, specifically by dragging her by her jacket, without first asking for or giving her a chance to show identification. She shared her experience while visibly distraught and breaking down. The woman elaborated on an ICE operation in Brooklyn, New York. She stated that while she was in an African store, agents were sneaking into businesses through back exits rather than using the main entrances.
They just, as soon as they know you're Black or something, they just like literally grab me from the back. I turned around, I was confused because they broke through the people back door. I was totally confused. They grabbed my hand for no reason. I'm a fucking citizen. They don't even care, bro.
It has reached an extent of racism reaching at schools. White students ain't doing good to Black students at all. They are being treated different because of their color. They need to have their rights as Black students.
I come here today to talk about how I feel, and I feel like that we are treated differently than other people, and I don't like how we're treated, and just because of our color doesn't mean anything to me. I believe that
you're doing great. You're doing a great job.
Don't stop. Do not stop.
we are Black people and we shouldn't have to feel like this. We shouldn't have to protest because y'all are treating us wrong. We do this because we need to and have rights.
Go ahead. Let her talk. Go ahead.
I've been born and raised in Charlotte, and I never felt this way till now. And I can't stand how we're treated. And it's a shame that our fathers and mothers are killed, and we can't even see them anymore.
That's right.
It's a shame that we have to go to the graveyard and bury them. And we have tears, and we shouldn't have tears. We need our fathers and mothers to be by our side.
Some of the students were attacked by white queens in Rosedale, New York City, because they are black because of their color. I think racism must stop immediately. People need to take action on this. This is honestly nothing different. I think all black people must be protected because they feel demoralized at all. No black person should deserve to go through this. Each person deserves his or her rights.
Speak about something that I haven't seen anybody talking about yet. A black kid at a high school barn party was verbally and physically attacked by a group of racist white boys, calling him all types of N-words and racial slurs, pushing him and shoving him dangerously close to, and even at one point in the video, within the meat grinder. Thank God the meat grinder was not on. God damn, y'all. And of course this hasn't hit the news, not on the local, state, or national level, when it honestly should be. Because let's be honest, if it was a group of African American boys that was racially attacking and physically attacking any other race of person, pushing them dangerously close to, and even at one point inside of a turned off meat grinder, they would be arrested and the mugshots would be all over national news right now. And yes, because it happened to a black kid, they are not going to spread the news about it unless it was somebody from a different race. And this is proof that we are still dealing with a lot of overt and aggressive racism as African Americans here in America. And the fact that because it was a black kid, it's all of a sudden being silenced. Like I said, no news coverage at all. I can't help but to notice that this exposes that they have a system that protects them in this country. If you've been even slightly observant, even slightly educated on African American history, you would understand that this is honestly nothing different. But when it comes to us as black people in America, when it comes to us African Americans, we're way too divided. That's why that system continues to enable them and protect them. A lot of African Americans just simply want to stand apart from all black people from around the world. But you don't see the danger in that, do you? Given that we only make up 13% of the American population. So why wouldn't we want to stand together and band together with black people around the world if we are literally the minority in a country in which a black kid that looks just like you, looks just like your son, looks just like your brother, looks just like your father, was verbally and physically attacked by racist white boys? Yet leave it up to FBAs, they think it's okay to stand alone, to stand against global unification of black people around the world. And that's the very thing that we as African American need in this country in order for us to further protect ourselves. I don't care what you have to say about that. At the end of the day, no black kid, whether in Africa, America, or anywhere else in the world, should have to experience or go through something like that. We need to set up a system of our own in America to where black children don't ever have to go through something like that again. How many lessons have to be learned? How many times does history have to repeat itself? How many times do we have to see our black children, black women, and black men go through these things before we understand as black people living in America that we will get nothing standing alone and trying to be an individual black person on earth as African Americans, because we feel like African people or black people around the world just cannot identify, they cannot relate to us, when that is the furthest from the truth. So I think African Americans need to get their head up out their ass and actually start to unify with black people around the world, because that's how we are going to get our power. And I pray that this young brother gets the justice that he deserves. I hope that you guys share this news. You guys put this story out there. I hope that we don't stay silent about this, because silence and fighting against each other is what keeps things like this happening.
Here, a student was attacked at school. The perpetrator claimed he just hated black people. This is a student saying he just hated black people. The boy now is afraid even to go to school. He fears the white because of the incident that happened the previous day. He is insecure of what's gonna happen to him at school.
But imagine the feeling if it's your son. Herman Holmes says he was seeing red when he first saw that 5-second video.
I was just ready to leave work and come and find this kid and, just do to him what he's doing to my son.
The incident happened Tuesday at Clinton Central Junior High. Other students recording as Damarian says he was approached without warning. School officials could not say what punishment the student faced, but that it's in accordance with their guidelines. Damarian's parents, though, feel that this is a violent attack and went to the sheriff's office. We're not identifying identifying the other juvenile involved, but deputies did take a report and are now charging him with battery. We couldn't get a hold of his parents, neither have the Holmes, but say they do want a conversation. In the meantime, they're looking at moving their son out of the school.
Not really safe to go to school out here.
So how do you know if your child is being bullied or might be the bully? Stop bullying.
Federal agents caution black women outside Walmart in Minneapolis. Raw night footage. Here.
Where are you from?
Excuse me?
Are you from here?
Yes.
What country? Were you born here? Are you from this place?
I'm an American. I was born here.
I guess this happened in Minneapolis.
Here we see a black man being attacked by police because of discrimination, which is too bad.
A white police officer maliciously arrested and beat a black man who was handcuffed and not threatening. On July 28th, Alexander Donta Mitchell, 28, was waiting for a friend near Watts 113th Street and Graham Avenue. Two officers from the Los Angeles Police Department told Mitchell to park in a double row with the wrong orientation of the front of the car.
What's going on? Roll the windows down. You're double parked.
And then opened the car door to let Mitchell get off. Mitchell cooperated with the police's request to get off the car and conduct a body search, but Mitchell didn't understand the way the police treated him and had an argument with him. When the police decided to arrest Mitchell for resisting arrest and attempted to handcuff him, Mitchell shouted loudly,
"What did I do?"
A police officer suddenly punched Mitchell, hit him hard on the chin, and then put on another.
Racist officer detained black driver without cause until federal backup arrives.
You coming from at
Just
this
on
hour?
my way home.
Just on my way home. You live around here?
Yes, sir.
People like you always seem to be driving around this late.
I'm just heading home, officer.
Step out of the car.
May I ask why I'm being asked to step out?
If you don't have anything to hide, then stepping out shouldn't be a problem.
I'm not hiding anything.
We'll
The body camera clicks on the second the patrol car door swings open. Heat still radiates from the cruiser's engine as a young rookie steps out into the night. His posture is stiff. His movements are just slightly overdone. It's the kind of stance that doesn't come from confidence. It comes from someone trying to prove they deserve the badge. The neighborhood isn't deserted. It's resting. Streetlights glow dimly over pavement, still damp from an earlier drizzle. Crickets hum in the distance. A porch light flickers 2 houses down. Inside the stopped vehicle, the driver waits, window already halfway lowered, both hands resting calmly on the steering wheel, clearly visible. Compliance before contact, but the rookie approaches like he's walking into a high-risk felony stop. Flashlight already raised. The beam slices through the windshield before he even reaches the door. No greeting, no introduction, just suspicion. He knocks twice on the glass with the flashlight, harder than necessary. License and registration. The driver, a black man in his early 40s, dressed neatly in a charcoal button-down shirt, nods politely. Yes, officer. Before he can move, the rookie fires off another question. Where are you coming from this late? The tone isn't casual. It's accusatory, as if the time alone is evidence. The driver keeps his hands exactly where they are. I'm just heading home. Home? The officer tilts his head slightly, doubtful. Yes, sir. The flashlight beam moves now. Backseat, passenger floor, center console. You live around here? Yes. Where exactly? 2 blocks that way. The officer exhales slowly through his nose, studying him like a puzzle he's already decided is suspicious. You got ID? Yes, sir. It's in my wallet. The driver begins moving carefully, deliberately, reaching toward his back pocket. Hold on. Don't move. The command snaps through the air. The driver freezes instantly, hands returning to the wheel. Yes, sir. The officer circles behind the vehicle, eyes scanning the plate. He speaks into his shoulder mic, running it through dispatch. Static. A confirmation tone. Plate valid, registered owner matches, address 2 blocks away, exactly as stated. But instead of relaxing, the officer stiffens. He steps back to the window, flashlight still aimed directly at the driver's eyes. Step out of the vehicle. The request comes without explanation. I'm sorry, the driver says evenly. Did I do something wrong? The officer's jaw tightens. I said, step out. I just want to understand why. The rookie leans in slightly, lowering his voice. If you're not hiding anything, you wouldn't mind stepping out. There it is. The suggestion that innocence requires submission. The driver exhales slowly, keeping his tone measured. I'm not hiding anything. I'm just trying to follow instructions, then step out. The door unlocks. The man steps out slowly, hands visible the the entire time. The night air feels cooler outside the vehicle. A street lamp now casts light over both men. The officer positions him near the rear quarter panel. Standard control placement, but the tone remains sharp. What are you doing parked here with the engine running? I pulled over to take a call. From who? My wife. The officer studies his face, then says quietly, but clearly enough for the body cam to catch it. You people always have somewhere to be at 2 in the morning. The words hang there, heavy. The driver hears it. He doesn't react outwardly. I was going home. The officer folds his arms briefly. Mind if I take a look inside the vehicle? The driver pauses. Is there a reason for a search, officer? There's a reason I stopped you. What reason? You were sitting suspiciously. Engine running. I was on the phone. Step toward the curb. The driver complies. Because escalation isn't worth the risk. But the tension is rising, and the body camera is recording every assumption being formed without evidence. The officer walks to the driver's door and opens it without asking again. Flashlight sweeps the interior. Seats, glove box, cup holders. Nothing. You got anything illegal in here? Drugs? Weapons? No. The beam slides under the seat into the trunk through the rear fold down. Still nothing. He shuts the door. You match a description. The driver looks up calmly. What description? Suspicious activity in the area. Was the description a car? No, a person. The answer stays vague. Just cooperate and this will go smooth. But the man has been cooperating from the very beginning, and yet suspicion hasn't decreased. It's grown because now the rookie isn't operating on evidence. He's operating on instinct, and instinct when left unchecked becomes bias. He finally runs the driver's name through dispatch. Pause. Static. A voice cracks faintly over the mic. The rookie's posture shifts. Subtle, but noticeable. He looks back at the man differently now. Longer, harder. Whatever dispatch just said doesn't fit the story he built in his head. And that story, it's about to collapse. Right in front of the backup units already on their way.
A Rocky cop snatches walking stick from black army vet with no legs, then pushes him to the ground.
That stick, what exactly is that for?
It is a walking stick. I use it
And you carry that everywhere you go?
every day.
Because to me, something like that's a weapon. That could do serious damage to somebody if it was used the wrong way.
Necessary walking
I have
aid.
prosthetic legs. Without this stick, I cannot maintain my balance. That's what you say.
That is not what I say. That is what
30 meters away near the door of the park maintenance building on the east side of the path. Nora Sun had already stopped what she was doing and was moving toward them. Nora Sun had worked at Sutter Falls Community Park for 6 years as a park maintenance attendant. And in that time she had developed the particular kind of familiarity with the park's regular visitors that comes not from any formal introduction, but from simple repetition. The same faces, the same routes, the same times of day, month after month, until the park and the people in it become one continuous thing, that you know the way you know your own neighborhood. Raymond Ford had been part of that picture for 2.5 years. She knew which gate he came through. She knew his route. She knew that he moved slowly and carefully, and that the walking stick was not decorative and had never been decorative. And she knew all of this the way she knew everything about the park. Not because anyone had told her, but because she had been paying attention. She covered the 30 meters between the maintenance building and the central path at a pace that was as fast as she could manage without running. And she arrived to find Raymond on the ground and Victor Vance standing over him with the walking stick still in his hand. She looked at Raymond, then at the stick, then at Vance. And when she spoke, her voice was not loud, but it carried the specific weight of someone who is not going to be redirected or dismissed. "What happened?" she said. Vance told her he was conducting a lawful stop and that she needed to step back from the scene. Nora looked at him and did not step back. She looked at Raymond on the ground and said, "Are you hurt?" Raymond told her he didn't think anything was broken. She looked back at Vance and said, "That man comes to this park every single day. I have known him for 2.5 years. He is a veteran. Those are prosthetic legs. That stick is how he walks." Vance told her again to step back. She told him she worked in the park and that she was not going anywhere. By this point, 2 other people who had been on the central path had stopped and were watching, and a third was on her phone with what Nora assumes is either the police or a camera application. And in either case, Vance had an audience that was not going away. Raymond spoke from the ground. His voice was even and unhurried, the voice of a man who had decided that the most useful thing he could do in this moment was be as clear as possible. He told Vance that he needed his walking stick back in order to stand up, and that without it, he could not get up from the ground under his own power. He said it simply and without any anger in it, which made it hit harder than anger would have. Vance looked at the stick in his hand. Something shifted in his expression, but it did not shift far enough or fast enough to be called understanding. He told Raymond that he would return the stick once he had completed his assessment of the situation. Raymond asked him what assessment remained to be completed. Vance did not answer that question. Nora crouched down beside Raymond on the path. She told him she was going to stay with him. Then she looked up at Vance and said in the same steady voice she had been using since she arrived, "He cannot get up without that stick. You need to give it back to him right now." Vance told her the stick was currently being held as a potential item of concern pending his evaluation. Nora looked at him for a long moment and then said, "It is a walking aid for a man with no legs. That is all it is. Give it back." The small group of people around them had grown to 6 by now, and none of them were moving away. 2 phones were up. Vance looked at the phones, then at Nora, then at Raymond on the ground, and for the first time since he had grabbed the stick, he looked like a man who was beginning to understand that the situation he was standing in the middle of was not the situation he had thought he was creating when he started it. He had not given the stick back yet, but he had stopped holding it like he intended to keep it, which was at least the beginning of something like a Nora stood up from beside Raymond and looked at Vance with the particular stillness of a woman who has run out of patience but has no intention of losing her composure, because composure in this moment was more useful than anything else she had available to her. She had worked in this park for 6 years. She had seen things happen on these paths, arguments, accidents, moments of ordinary human difficulty. And she had learned that the way you carry yourself in those moments determines everything about how they resolve. She held out her hand toward Vance, palm up, fingers flat, and said one word, "Give." Vance looked at the outstretched hand. He looked at the stick. He looked at the crowd of people that had gathered around them on the central path. 6 people now, maybe 7, with 3 phones raised and nobody moving away. And the confidence that had carried him through the last several minutes began to show its first cracks. Not because he had decided he was wrong, but because the weight of everyone watching him be wrong had finally become something he could feel. He looked at Raymond on the ground. Raymond was sitting upright on the path with his prosthetic legs in front of him and his hands flat on the paving stones beside him, holding himself steady with the quiet, practiced composure of a man who had spent 14 months in rehabilitation, learning to exist in a body that the world had not yet fully adjusted to accommodate. He was not asking for the stick again, he had already asked. He was simply waiting, the way a man waits when he has said everything that needs to be said, and the only remaining variable is whether the person he said it to is going to do the right thing. Vance walked the 4 feet between himself and Raymond and held the stick out toward him. Raymond took it without a word. He positioned it on the ground beside him, placed his weight against it, and pushed himself first to a seated position, and then, with the slow and deliberate effort of someone who had done this 10,000 times in harder circumstances than a park path on a Wednesday afternoon, back to his feet. He stood at his full height and straightened his jacket and looked at Victor Vance with an expression that contained no heat, no performance, and no forgiveness. Just a clear, cold, unhurried assessment of a man who had been weighed in the last 30 minutes and had come up short in every category that mattered. Stepped forward. She was not a large woman and she was not a loud one, but she had the quality of presence that some people carry when they know exactly where they stand and are not interested in being moved from it. She told Vance she wanted his name and his badge number. He gave them. She repeated them back to confirm she had them right. And then she said in the same measured voice she had been using since she arrived on the scene, "This man's name is Raymond Ford. He is a United States Army veteran. He served 2 tours in Afghanistan, and he lost both of his legs to an IED in Kandahar province in 2009. He has been walking the central path of this park every weekday afternoon for 2.5 years, and in that time he has never given anyone who works here or visits here a single reason to look at him twice. I know him. Every person who works in this park knows him, and what you just did to him has been recorded by at least 3 people standing on this path right now." Vance said nothing. There was nothing available to him that would have improved his position, and he seemed to have arrived, however, reluctantly, at the understanding that speaking further was only going to make that worse. Raymond reached into the breast pocket of his jacket and removed 2 documents that he carried with him every day. Not because he believed he should have to, not because the law required him to produce them to a rookie officer on a public path in a park he had been walking for 2.5 years, but because he was a man who had lived long enough in his body and in this country to understand that preparation was not the same thing as surrender, and that having the truth documented and accessible was sometimes the only thing standing between a bad situation and a worse one. The first document was his Veterans Affairs identification card, issued by the Sutter Falls 5th A office on Langton Street, with his photograph, his name, and his service status printed clearly on the front. The second was a copy of his military discharge papers, which listed his unit, his deployment dates, the nature of his injuries, and his decorations. The Purple Heart was listed third from the top. He held both documents out toward Vance without speaking. Vance took them. He read the VA card first, then unfolded the discharge papers and read through them slowly, his eyes moving down the page in the silence of a man who is reading something that is dismantling every assumption he arrived at this park with. He read all the way to the bottom. His face when he looked up did not show remorse, because remorse would have required him to have arrived at a genuine understanding of what he had done, and he had not gotten there yet. What his face showed instead was the particular blankness of a man who has had the floor taken out from under him, and has not yet identified anything solid to stand on in its place. Raymond took the documents back. He folded the discharge papers carefully, returned both items to his breast pocket, and then looked at Vance one final time. His voice when he spoke was the same voice he had been using since the beginning of this encounter. Quiet, level, and entirely without the anger that the situation had more than earned. He said, "I gave my legs for this country. I walk this path every day because I spent 14 months learning how to walk again. And I'm not going to stop doing it because someone with 11 months on the job decided my walking stick looked suspicious." He paused for just a moment, long enough for what he had said to settle. "You pushed me to the ground. I want you to think about that for the rest of your career, however long that turns out to be." He turned and continued his route slowly, deliberately, with the same careful pace that Victor Vance had looked at from the northern entrance of the park 40 minutes earlier and decided needed investigating. Nora watched him go and then turned back to Vance, who was standing on the central path of Sutter Falls Community Park, with 6 people around him and 3 phones still recording and absolutely nothing left to say.
This happened in Baltimore. The school board and the cops called a citywide emergency in order to keep him from speaking, which is true.
To white school boards in the suburbs, and the white people who know that I'm coming, because I may advertise it, they let me speak. But the black people in my own community that look like me, y'all have a black governor, a black mayor, predominantly black school board, black officers, and the guy who has a differing viewpoint can't speak in your school board meeting? You are defrauding me of my freedom of speech.
No, you're not. You're talking, right?
No, I'm not able to be heard on record. And that's the problem. This is the issue with why we have failing schools in Baltimore, because no one wants to change. It's protecting the status quo. Let's protect the CEO of Baltimore Public Schools, who makes $479,000 a year. The kids can't read. But she makes $500,000 a year. This is not right. No, take me out. It is necessary. I can't go. I've come too far to go too easily. If you want to arrest me, you can, brother. If you arrest my speech, arrest my hands. I'm not carrying anything but a microphone and a Bible in my book bag. That's all I got. And y'all silence the black preacher.
It is very unfortunate a father of a 15-year-old girl who got jumped by 10 white girls in 5th grade getting pulled over by SVPD for just being black. What happened next will amaze you.
It was jumped by 10 white girls. I'm not racist, never really experienced racism until I moved to Simi Valley. When I first moved here, I was pulled over frequently, getting off work, slacks, dress shirt, because my tail light was out, but it wasn't out. Various things that, just to pull me over. Now I'm gonna fast forward really quick to a story about my daughter. So I've been out here, my daughter's 16 years old now, just about to turn 16. And in elementary, in the 5th grade, she was accosted by a group of about 10 white girls at Garden Grove Elementary. Should be documented. I probably could have sued the city of Simi Valley and the Simi Valley Unified School District at that time for negligence. Because I went after the school board, I sent emails, I reached out to the school to find out what was going on. They swept it under the rug. They swept it under the rug. My daughter was jumped by 10 white girls. It should be documented. So I went up to the school because I handle things a little bit differently. So I went up and I saw the parents at graduation, 6th grade graduation. They didn't want any issues. So they pointed me to a parent that lived in a different area. I just so happened to run into that parent at the Northridge Mall. So when I approached that parent and I said, we have a real issue. Your daughter was one of the girls that jumped my daughter on that campus. He pointed back to the other parents saying that, they live in Simi, they're racist, they're meth heads. I believe it because we have plenty of that. Plenty out here. And so my point into that is not to be funny, this, that, and the other, but we have a community, a long living history of people in Simi Valley being racist. And then I'm talking about on all levels. I'm talking about the lowest of the low and those that think they're the highest of the high.
Sir, your time is now up, but thank you. Appreciate it.
Here we are seeing this a racist woman in Karen who calls the police on a black teen boy with a $280 lawsuit which the boy had bought after a false accusation.
Hey, where'd you get those shoes?
I just bought them. Here's my receipt.
He couldn't afford those. He stole them.
I saved for 8 months.
Hands behind your back. You're under arrest.
Joshua Ortega stood at a bus stop in Buckhead, Atlanta, holding a shopping bag from Soul Haven Boutique and feeling like the 8 months of working weekends at a grocery store had finally paid off. He was 17 years old, 3 days away from his 18th birthday, and the limited edition sneakers in that bag represented more than just shoes. They represented hard work, discipline, and a promise kept between him and his parents. He had saved $2,400 from his paychecks. His parents had added $2,600, and together they had given him exactly $5,000 to buy the sneakers he had been researching for months. The receipt in his hand proved every dollar was legitimate. But Jennifer Hayes, a 46-year-old white woman sitting 10 feet away on the same bench, saw a black teenager holding an expensive shopping bag and immediately assumed he had stolen it. She hadn't watched him earn the money. She hadn't seen him maintain a B average to keep his end of the deal. She just saw what she wanted to see. And what she saw confirmed every bias she had ever held. She pulled out her phone and called 911 to report a theft in progress. And when Officer Gary Taylor arrived and Jennifer pointed at Joshua, Taylor didn't ask to see the receipt Joshua was holding. He didn't call the store to verify the purchase. He didn't conduct even the most basic investigation. He just looked at Joshua's worn clothes, listened to Jennifer's accusation, and made a decision that would destroy his career and cost Jennifer $280,000. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button and drop a like. Let me know in the comments, what city or country are you watching from? What Officer Gary Taylor didn't know was that Cordell Lopez, the store employee who had sold Joshua those sneakers 23 minutes earlier, was still inside Soul Haven Boutique finishing his shift. That Cordell would hear the commotion outside, look through the window, and recognize the teenager he had just helped. That Cordell would run out to intervene and confirm the purchase was legitimate. And that when Taylor grabbed Cordell's phone and deleted the video evidence, he would mention that the store owner, Michael Barnes, a wealthy black businessman with a reputation for destroying racist cops through expensive lawsuits, owned not just this store, but 4 others across Atlanta, and that Barnes had successfully sued the Atlanta Police Department twice before. What Jennifer Hayes didn't know was that her pattern of calling police on black and Latino people for imaginary crimes had finally caught up with her, that her previous complaints in her old neighborhood had been documented and would be discovered, that her 911 call would be recorded and played in court, and that her jealousy, because she had been in that same store an hour earlier and couldn't afford the sneakers she wanted to buy for her own son, would be the evidence that proved racial bias and would cost her everything. Joshua Ortega had been planning this purchase for 8 months. He was 17 years old, a senior at North Atlanta High School, and the sneakers he wanted weren't just any sneakers. They were a limited edition collaboration between a famous designer and a legendary athlete, released in quantities so small that only a few hundred pairs existed in his size anywhere in the country. The price was $5,000, an amount that would have been completely impossible for Joshua to afford on his own. But his parents had made him a deal at the beginning of his senior year. If he maintained a B average or higher in all his classes, if he kept his part-time job at the grocery store without quitting, and if he saved as much money as he could from his paychecks, they would contribute the difference he needed to buy the sneakers for his 8th.
Thank you guys for watching. Please don't forget to follow, like and share, and don't forget also to leave a comment. I will reply to some of the comments, and don't forget to also subscribe to my channel so that I can bring you good videos.